The second part of Module 4 is about creating and using a school counseling program advisory council. And though this is optional, it's an option we highly suggest. Your return on investment, that is the number of hours you have to spend to prepare for and implement an advisory council for your school counseling program, is pretty low in comparison to the potential benefit that an advisory council can bring. And if you're a person who likes to have an insurance policy, a school counseling program advisory council is exactly what you want to have. In its simplest form, an advisory council for your school counseling program allows you to share what you're doing in your program with members of the community, and just like your annual meeting with your school principal, allows members of the community to provide their input and ideas on how your school counseling program might be better. Typical advisory council members are not only parents, but others, such as Chamber of Commerce reps, local business owners, religious leaders, representatives from community organizations, and others. Now, some school counselors strategically invite community members to be on the advisory council who they think could be potential naysayers. The philosophy being, if the naysayers are aware of what's going on with the counseling program and offering their advice and input, they are far less likely to be critical of it in public. Bit of a risk, I know, but I've heard from several counselors who've told me that it was actually a very smart thing to do. A couple of suggestions for advisory councils. We suggest meeting at least once per year, preferably in the fall, but we highly recommend having at least 2 annual meetings if you can, one in the fall and one in the spring. Be sure your advisory council meetings are a 50-50 mix of you and your staff presenting or talking, and the other half listening or recording on paper or in your minutes what your advisory council members are saying. This is not a monologue or a workshop where they sit and get. An advisory council meeting is intended to be a conversation, a little bit of you, a little bit of them, maybe even a little bit more of them than you. And even if you don't use every idea they suggest, you want to make sure your council members feel that they have been heard. And being a school counselor, you know how to do that. Also, try to make your advisory council meetings a mix of what you're planning to do so you can gather their suggested input and ideas, and about how students are different or better off because of what you did. In a perfect world, you'd do a meeting focused on planning in the fall and one on results in the spring, but we all know that some data isn't always available by the end of the year. So it's possible that your advisory meetings are a mix of your results from the current or previous year and planning for this year or next. How you run your advisory council meeting is ultimately up to you. Now, if you're going for RAMP, there are, of course, very strict requirements. But an effective advisory council meeting simply consists of an agenda that includes 3 essential components: information about your school counseling program, including any updates or changes, your school counseling program's plans for the current year or the following year, and any results or outcomes from the work that you've done specifically related to students. Remember, positive student outcomes show how your school counseling program is effective and valuable and measurably making a difference, which is, of course, what you want. But it's also true that data that trends downward or doesn't look so great is okay too, because it actually provides an opportunity for your advisory council members to feel useful, to be more engaged in the process of improving outcomes. And it deepens the sense that their input is needed, that their ideas are important and valuable. I hope that makes sense. If your advisory council meetings are simply rah, rah, look how great we're doing, everything's going great, presentations, then, what do you need an advisory council for? You want your advisory council members to be engaged and sharing in the tough challenges of improving the lives of all students, so those students are successful in school and ready for success after they graduate. So, following steps B5 through B13, it will provide you some tools to help you plan and implement your advisory council meetings. There's sample language in step B5 for inviting potential new members to your advisory council, language you can use as is or edit to fit your needs. Steps B6 and B7 allow you to upload or link your list of potential members on your advisory council to the meeting invitation and also add new advisory council members. You also get to designate their perspective or what type of advisory council member they are, such as a parent, a teacher, etc. You could also click on Other if there's a designation that's not captured on the list. Clicking on Advisory Council Email List provides an easy way to copy and paste only the email addresses of your council members so that you can put them into an email invitation, easy peasy. Clicking on Advisory Council Roster generates this handy list of your advisory council members in a nice, easy to see table. In step B8, you can set up advisory council dates by clicking again on the pencil icon, choosing if you plan to have one or two meetings, then selecting both the date of the meeting as well as the starting time of the meeting. You can use the sample language in step B9 to send a print or email invitation to advisory council members to your ongoing meetings, and use step B11 to draft your advisory council agendas. These samples are designed to save you time, but really feel free to adjust them in any way you wish. Advisory council minutes are required if you go for ASCA's RAMP award, but optional in CORE. Nevertheless, even simple meeting minutes are a good way to capture advisory council member comments and to help you, or maybe me, remember what was covered in the previous meeting. We have placed a variety of resources in step B for you to take a look at, hopefully providing all you would need to easily and smoothly conduct good quality advisory council meetings on a continuous basis. Clicking on Advisory Council roster generates a handy list of your advisory council members. These samples are designed to save you time, but feel free to adjust them in any way you wish. In step B8, you can set up advisory council dates by clicking again on the pencil icon, choosing if you plan to have one or two meetings, then selecting both the date of the meeting as well as the starting time of the meeting. You can use the sample language in step B9 to send it. You can use the sample language in B9 to send a print or email invitation to advisory council members to your ongoing meetings, and step B11 to draft your advisory council agendas. These agendas are designed to save you time, but feel free to adjust them in any way you wish.